All right, good evening again. This is Rhonda. I'm joined by several of my colleagues this evening, and we hope to help you think about your preparations for summer 2021 study abroad on affiliate programs. I'm going to send out a chat, hopefully here, to everyone. And in that chat, you will find a link to our handbook, which is what I am presenting on my screen. So hopefully you can get to the chat, open that link, and just follow along. That way, if my screen is blurry or if I'm moving too slowly, you can move around in the very same website that I'm displaying for you all. So as just a point of information, I invited about 25 students and their families, whoever they listed as their family contacts. So we're a little bit smaller group tonight, which I think means that we won't drone on and talk for a long time, but rather we'll turn it over to you guys to ask questions. So I want to let you know that you can use the Q&A feature. I know everybody's pretty used to Zoom at this point, but just wanted to point out that my colleagues are here to help provide responses to your spontaneous questions. You don't have to wait to the end. You can go ahead and fire away. So who's on the call tonight? There is an array of programs represented in this meeting tonight. So we, as the title general suggests, we are not going to delve into specifics of the United Kingdom, into the specifics of Turks and Caicos, or Denmark. We're really going to speak generally. That doesn't mean that we can't get your specific questions answered. We definitely aim to answer questions this evening. But just know that there's another meeting that has actually probably already happened for most of your students, which is a program specific or what we call site specific orientation. And it's been led by one of my wonderful colleagues, some of whom are on the call this evening. So orientation for us at Elon has a general component and then a site or program specific component. So what we'll be covering tonight is general advice, basic ground rules, policies that are applicable to all students, regardless of where they're studying, and just tips about insurance, about billing, things that are relevant to all students, regardless of program. All right, I hope that all makes sense. I'm going to page ahead to our table of contents. And just as a reminder, this website, which we call the Spark Handbook, was provided to your students. Students who are listening out there, you got this in the email and a reminder about this website. It's called the Spark Handbook. And what I highly recommend is that you open it on your smartphone and keep access to it. Because you may want to refer back to this handbook at several points prior to departure, after you arrive in country, even after you return and you're trying to remember policies about grades or pass-fail, questions that may not seem that important right now, but will arise later. So I strongly recommend get that Spark Handbook open on your smartphone, and that way when you need it, you're going to have access to it. All right, so we, of course, can't neglect the topic of COVID-19. We're obviously still experiencing a lot of last minute changes, program modifications as a result of COVID-19. We expect that our partners abroad, which we call our affiliate partners, and I will share a little bit more about what that definition means and who our affiliate partners are, but we fully expect that they, at this point in time, are communicating with you regularly about any changes to anticipate. They may be actually preparing to give you the green light to go ahead and book travel if you have not already gotten a green light to book travel. So really want you to think of them as your primary resource in terms of COVID modifications. So what we have on this page here are general ideas, general examples of COVID-related modifications. So these are the types of modifications that we've been experiencing in study abroad over the past year. And yes, we have had students abroad since last August. It's a much reduced number, but we have learned a lot over the past, particularly the past 9 months, about what it means to be abroad during a pandemic, what sorts of disruptions, what sorts of changes to expect that are going to be greatly different than the experiences that your friends and those that you know that studied abroad in 2019 or earlier. So I don't think you'll be surprised by any of these modifications. The potential that you will not be able to travel across borders during your program is really the norm at this point. Our students who've been abroad in the spring have stayed in the country in which they were placed for the entire semester. And despite our optimism that might have changed during the spring semester, that has not been the case. So we think it's very realistic to not expect to travel across national borders while you're abroad, and there might even be other restrictions to remain within a region. So Italy is an example. We've had students in Tuscany, and up until very recently, they have not been allowed to leave that province, that region within the country of Italy. So we want to be really straightforward with you. Again, the best source for the exact details on that is your program host. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because I'm alluding to our affiliate partners to this particular section of the handbook, just to talk about who are these affiliate partners. So what you'll see represented there is not an exhaustive list, but you are seeing the logos of most of the program providers relevant to the folks on this call. So we have students going to Copenhagen through DIS. We have students going to London through both FIE and the London School of Economics. We have students going to Sorrento via the Sant'Anna Institute, and Turks and Caicos through SFS, and so on. So these are our trusted partners. We have relationships with these folks for many different programs, semester and summer length. These folks know us. When you call them and say, I'm an Elon student, they're going to know who you are. They're going to take very good care of you. You also, of course, have a program advisor or program manager, is what we sometimes call ourselves, in the Global Education Center. So you can think of both parties as resources, but to be quite honest, it's our partners, such as DIS, who really hold the details. If you want to know specifics about your housing, specifics about airport arrival, even a packing list from one of our partners is probably going to be the best source for that type of information. And I realize that many of you on this call are very plugged in. You're already on top of that communication, so thank you for bearing with us. We have other folks on the call who've joined a program more recently. So we're really, again, with general orientation, just trying to bring everybody to the same page so you feel like you're on good footing, and when it's time to get on the plane, you're going to feel good, you're going to feel prepared, and have a wonderful experience abroad this summer. So again, these programs are vetted to not just meet our academic standards, which are high. We don't just partner with any organization in the world, but they're vetted based on their health and safety record and their reputation, as well as other factors. We look for affordable programs. We will look for programs that offer great curricular matches to our students and based on their academic needs. So there's a long list of reasons why we affiliate with these folks. And when they contact you, we want you to think of that as a contact from Elon. I sometimes have students say to me, I'm not going on an Elon program, I'm going abroad with FIE. Well, that's not actually the case. Everyone on this call is studying abroad with Elon. You are being taken care of by an affiliate partner. Again, we don't affiliate with just anyone. This is a very curated very particular lists of organizations. So I'm sorry if I'm hitting that pretty hard, but I find that that's a common misunderstanding. And students and families sometimes say, well, I haven't heard from Elon. And we'll say, well, have you heard from Global Experiences or have you heard from SFS? And they say, oh, yeah, well, that is hearing from Elon. And in this sense, they are a representative of Elon because they're going to provide the program for you. And that, so often these programs are called providers. And they provide students, programs to students from across the United States. So most of our students are going to arrive abroad and meet students from other parts of the United States who are also participants on these programs, which I think is kind of a hidden benefit of study abroad, is getting to meet other students from other parts of the United States. So I hope that makes sense. Again, we have Q&A if there are questions. And I will ask my colleagues on the call if there's a certain question that seems to be popping up a lot, we'll voice that answer to that question so that others on the call may benefit from hearing the answer. All right, so I'm gonna back up, and I want to be really mindful of everyone's time this evening. So I will go through this pretty quickly, and then we'll just open it up for questions and hopefully wrap up here within 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, this is in big and bold type here for a reason, and so probably worth repeating. Our students are subject to the laws and regulations of the host country and the host country government, their public health officials. The pandemic has definitely brought this into sharp focus. These things have always been true. But we need to pay particular attention to what the regulations in any locale are, and if they should change. Our partners are going to be the ones to communicate that to you, and we expect you to heed those regulations, just as you heed regulations on our campus around Ready and Resilient, which are shaped by North Carolina public health officials. So I think it all makes sense. Unfortunately, regulations can change without notice. That's something we deal with a lot in international education. And so it's something that Elon can't particularly control. All we can do is to say, to be prepared and try your best to be flexible. If you have questions, you can always reach out to the Global Education Center while you're abroad. Anytime we have an on-call staff person on weekends, over holidays, late at night. So just know that the Global Education Center is here if you're feeling uncertain and you're not sure how to abide by local laws or regulations. All right, so I'm going to back away from that heavy pandemic topic here and just talk about good old academics, or what I like to say is the study and study abroad. And I know we get excited about packing a suitcase and destinations and stamps in our passport, but really this is at its heart, it's centrally an academic experience, and we don't want anyone to lose sight of what we believe is your central purpose for being abroad, and that is to study, to earn credit towards your Elon degree. We have a lot of tools and a lot of ways to help you be successful. We're looking here at the course review form video, which is put together by our wonderful partners in the Elon Registrar's Office. They're the folks who help you understand how your credit will transfer back to Elon. Those of us in the GEC, we do not make those determinations. It's the registrar who looks at that syllabus of Italian, intermediate Italian, and decides whether or not that's Italian 122 or 1220 now in the 4-digit system. I don't make that call, the registrar does. And so the course review form, again, as a reminder, is just a conversation between you and the registrar's office about what you might take abroad and how that might come back. It doesn't mean that you're beholden or you're bound to take those courses. And really that information that the registrar holds is not shared with anyone. It's not shared with our partners in Sorrento or Copenhagen or London. they have no idea what you put on your course review form. So just to kind of make those pathways a little clearer for you if you haven't picked up on that already. We do have some important academic policies. These are exactly the same for our semester study abroad students. So for y'all going away in the summer, you cannot take courses on a pass-fail basis. All of your grades from every course that you complete abroad, including internships, because internships or credit are courses for us, all of those grades are factored into your cumulative GPA. So they will affect your GPA afterward. And even if you take yoga and you decide, I'm gonna stop going to yoga, and you fail yoga, you can't call me up and say, hey, just don't transfer that yoga class, Rhonda. Transfer my business class, but not my yoga class because I failed that one. That's simply outside the realm of our authority. Any course on a transcript from one of our partners is going to be transferred to your permanent record. So you heard it from me here, and I'm going to record this and send it to you, so you can't pretend no one told you. So just, bear in mind, our students do really wonderfully abroad. We're not at all worried about you, but we want to make sure that you have a clear grasp of these policies. All right. All right, the honor code. I know everyone on this call is already familiar with the EWAN honor code. So all I'm going to say is that the honor code follows you wherever you are in the world. So just be mindful of that. If you're ever uncertain about what the local norms are for behavior, again, that's why we have partners. You have a support system in country. There are folks, they are paid to answer those questions and to make sure that you feel supported and that you know how to put your best foot forward. Just a note about what we call congruent communication. And again, this is a part of orientation for any program. And really what that means is that if you encounter a problem abroad, and being abroad can be wonderful, but there can be very serious problems that pop up in your experience. It's not uncommon to have an issue, a wrinkle, have trouble. Is that you're communicating consistently. So there is, again, a local partner. Now they may not use all the same language that we're used to, like resident assistant or community assistant. They may have a slightly different name, but there is a person like that who you can reach after hours, who you can ask questions of if you could feel sick and you need to find a clinic. These folks are really your best asset when encountering a problem abroad. It's not that we don't want you communicating with parents, of course we do. And it's not that we don't want you communicating with us in North Carolina. It's just that we're very far removed from your issue. And there's a very good chance that there's someone much closer to you in proximity that can actually help you tackle this issue in a much more streamlined, much more efficient way. What sometimes happens is the student calls mom and dad calls me. And by the time all of these phone calls have happened, the problem can become worse, become exacerbated, and everyone feels frustrated, and including me. Whereas if the student started with the local partner and at the same time describe that very same problem to the person more immediate to the problem, we often get to a resolution faster, and everyone feels more satisfied with those results. So that's congruent communication in a nutshell. I realize that maybe feel like common sense to you, but you might be surprised, how often we have parents call us about a problem that the student has not voiced to anyone local to them. So just a reminder about that. All right, we've covered this topic of affiliate partners. Next, I want to introduce you to a series of videos that, again, that have already been sent to you, and maybe you've taken the time to watch them, which is wonderful. We do know that this is the end of a very busy spring semester, and you may be just crushed with papers and presentations and exams. That's okay. Put these videos aside and you can watch them, after you wrap up your exams, but please take the time to watch these. Most of them are less than 5 minutes in length. So they really are it's not going to be a long slog to get through these videos. And, moms and dads, you're of course welcome to dive in here and let us know if we're using jargon that's unfamiliar, or if you're having, trouble with any of these videos, please let us know. Again, I was lobbying for you to keep this website on your phone, and one of the reasons why I think that's a great idea is so that you have these after hours resources quickly at hand. If there is a concern, you don't want to be fumbling around looking for the right contact information. So if you have the Spark Handbook on your phone, you'll be able to find Elon Campus Safety and Police, our crisis counselor on call, SafeLine, which is our 24/7 confidential support for identity-based violence, sexual violence, relationship violence, etc. And there, by the way, right here is a very short video to help you understand how SafeLine works in the study abroad context, because there's a myth out there that SafeLine is only for students on campus, and that's absolutely not true. SafeLine is for all students, regardless of where they are in the world. All right, I know I'm moving fast, but I want to get through this so we can take questions. INEX is the name of our insurance provider. You haven't been enrolled yet, so don't worry, you haven't missed something. We want to get a little bit closer to your departure date, but you will receive an email from INEX. And so I want to show you their logo and make sure you know their name, because when you see them in your inbox, you might think that's spam. I don't know who those folks are. This is not spam. We really need you to open that email. You may want to share that enrollment email with your family so they can also be on top of your enrollment coverage. Here's the good news. You don't have to do anything. You don't need to print anything. You don't need to carry a card. You have the coverage. You can't lose the coverage. If you had a card and you lost it, you still can't lose the coverage. So the good news is that you're covered. And again, INEX has a pretty good website, and they will email you, and you can reply to that email. You can contact them with your questions. But we also have Kevin in our office, who is a liaison with INEX for maybe particular questions, particular issues that you would want to work through pre-departure. We'd much rather talk to you pre-departure about insurance than sort of face a nasty surprise. You're in country, you need a root canal, and there's no dental, right? That's something that's happened to me while abroad, and that can really be devastating and difficult. So we don't want any unexpected surprises. So take a look at what INEX sends you. We do, all of our page here have hyperlinks, so you can read more about the insurance coverage. But let us know if there are any gaps in your understanding of what that includes. Okay. Of course, we don't want to neglect mental health. That's essential to all of our well-being. And so we're very proud to be partnered with Morneau Shepell, who produces an app called My SSP. We've had this app in place for our semester students. So we're really thrilled to now offer this to our summer students. So this is an app that you carry on your phone, and you can utilize it whenever you like, 24/7. It's 100% free. And you can have access to a counselor even through chat as opposed to making a phone call. And I think one thing we've learned from our students is that they are very comfortable texting with a counselor, especially at the outset. Maybe they've never had counseling before, and they want to feel their way through that process. So I just want to emphasize, you can download My SSP right now. You need not wait a moment. All you do is go out to your Google or Apple store, look for MySSP. It'll ask you the name of your home university. You're going to plug in Elon and off you go. So please feel free to go ahead and download MySSP. And that is for students, not for families, but please go ahead and download that and let us know if you have questions about that service. Of course, we have a wonderful counseling center on campus. And for those who are already in a counseling relationship, you probably know this, but we encourage folks to make a wellness plan for their time abroad, to think ahead about what they need and how those needs can be met. Sometimes it's as simple as making a local contact, but sometimes counseling in another country can be quite different and less accessible. So there's a short video here on how, if you have a counselor currently, how to set up that continuity of care, just to make sure you have absolutely everything you need. All right, there's some very general advice here for students going abroad, making sure that your prescriptions are up to date. Things that again, good common sense you've probably heard before, but hopefully you'll find these helpful reminders. All right, what's next? Again, many of you have already attended a program-specific orientation, so thank you for your diligence and keeping up with all of these meetings and invitations from the GEC and from our partners abroad. We do want to point out billing. This is a very important aspect of study abroad. Every program has a budget sheet. I know this is quite small on my screen, but this is an example of what we call a budget sheet. And if moms and dads are on the call and are not familiar with the budget sheet, please let us know. We'll quickly send you a link. Below every budget sheet is a section of notes. So there are both numbers and notes to read, and it's really helpful to take a look at both the numbers and the notes below the budget sheet. And then please let us know if you have any questions. We don't have a ton of control over how eBill is presented to you. And so at first glance, you may feel like your eBill does not match your budget sheet. And that's a great opportunity for you to check in with us, because errors can happen. We want to make sure that your bill is correct. But hopefully, as you parse, the summer charges with other charges that may have existed on your account before summer, which I find is kind of the challenging part of the eBill. Once you parse those out, you should see a direct correlation between your bill and the budget sheet that we have on our MyElon Global website. All right, everyone is subject to refund policies, and these can be shockingly stringent. You can owe a lot of money for a program before it even begins. And even if you don't go abroad, you might still owe as much as 70, 80% of the cost of a program. So I come across a little strong here with kind of the heaviest version of a cancellation policy, because I want to make sure that you are paying attention and you are aware of the cancellation refund policies for your unique program. They are set by our affiliate partners, so there isn't just one policy. I would love to just reel off some dates for you and have everyone on this call be on the same policy, but they are unique to the program. You all have different start dates, you have different program lengths. So just make sure you know how to access this information. Again, you have a program manager in the GC to walk you through that. Make sure as you pass through these signposts, these milestones in your experience, that you know the financial responsibility that you're taking on at that point in time. Most programs, and this is true for semester and winter and every study abroad program, once you arrive in country, you typically cannot get a refund at that point in time. And one way to think about that is there's no one to take your place. If you decide not to show up on day one, that's an empty bed. That's an empty chair in a classroom, and our partners have already organized that, paid for those services, if you will, and there's no one to take your place. So don't want to belabor that, but just make sure that you are paying attention to cancellation and refund policies. All right, this is just kind of a list of resources, overseas money guide, study abroad on a budget, not specific to summer, not specific to Elon, but just general good resources from reputable partners. I do want to emphasize that it's really important that you stay in contact with us. So it's great if you're on this call. That probably means you're very engaged in communication with us, and we thank you for that. But you've got to keep checking email. After exams, into the summer, while abroad, you need to keep checking your Elon email account. That is our *1 way of communicating with students abroad for the entire university, not just the Global Education Center, but your department, the bursar. Everyone at Elon is going to use email to communicate with you. So just make sure that you're checking in, not every day, not every minute. I recommend twice a week. You can pick the day, Tuesday and Saturday, Monday and Wednesday. You pick the 2 days, but twice a week I think is a good rhythm to get into. All right, we do realize that some folks will reach a point between now and departure where they decide that they are simply unable to study abroad. So I just want to say clearly that we are here to help you. We understand that that's a difficult decision, and we're not going to try to make you feel bad about it. We just simply want to help you step through that process in a way where you can be empowered with the most information, the best options that are available to us at that time. So just communicate with us. Please let us know if you think you're going to have to withdraw from a program. We'd rather hear from you in the days leading up to that decision than not, so that we can be part of that decision-making process with you and help you along the way. So of course, there's a lot of pinnacle moments in study abroad, moments that you'll record on Instagram and share with your family, but there's also adversity. There's difficult days when studying abroad. This can range from everything that folks call culture shock. Some folks go abroad and don't experience culture shock. It can be homesickness. It can be not getting along with your roommate or housemate or flatmate. It could be having a really hard time in your internship, not getting along well with your internship supervisor. There's really a lot of forms of adversity. And so we like to just be really open and honest that that's pretty normal. You may look at everyone's Instagram and think that everyone's having a grand time and you're the only one who's ever had a problem abroad. Well, it's actually quite the opposite. We find that that's quite normal. It's just that folks don't advertise their adversity while it's happening, especially on their social media. So this section is really just talking about types of adversity, how you can work through those, good strategies. I think your family members who might get that phone call from their stressed out student, upset student, might find some useful strategies in this section to help your student be successful and make it through the other side of that problem. We know that you will. We know that you will learn so much and grow so much through these experiences, but that does entail, discomfort sometimes to get to that learning and that growth. And so we like to kind of speak openly about what that can feel like. And everyone in the GEC has had experiences with this. So when you come to us with problems, we're gonna nod our head and say, I get it. We've been through similar situations before. All right, so here is just simply some contact information. I think that brings me to the end. Oh, a packing list. I forgot this is here. This is general. This is not specific to a hot climate, a cold climate. This is not specific to someone who needs professional dress for an internship. This is very general. Lots of folks like packing lists, so we like sharing them, but just know that this is general, and a specific packing list might be better received from your program provider. So Santana Institute will send you a better packing list for Italy, probably than the one that you're looking at here. All right, I think that brings me to the end. Gosh, I talked a long time. I hope I didn't put you all to sleep. I don't know how the Q&A is going. I don't know if one of my colleagues can kind of give me a signal if there's some lingering questions out there.
Hey, Rhonda, I think we were able to answer most of the questions. We only had a couple come in. So if anyone has any remaining questions that they would like to get answered, please feel free to drop those in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll get to those. One of the questions we had come in was how to plan for how much cash to bring with you while you're abroad. And that's a good thing for everyone to hear. If you want to talk a little bit about that and maybe the relevance of having, bank cards or access to a card with low international transaction fees.
Yeah, great question. So yes, I would begin by saying when I travel, I like to have a little bit of local currency so that I don't have to be under stress the minute I get off an airplane and I'm jet lagged and tired to locate an ATM and make sure that I can pull out euros or whatever the local currency is. So you don't have to do this, but I personally recommend ordering currency through your bank. You may need to contact the main branch of your bank. They may not have currency on hand, so you can't just waltz in and expect currency to be right there waiting for you. You may need to call ahead. But I think, 200 US dollars worth of the currency of your local country is a good starting point. Again, just so that those first few days you don't need to be in a panic. All of our partners are going to be showing all of you around. Your guests in a new place. They're going to help you locate ATM machines. You will want to take a look at your ATM card and see what networks it is on. Is it on a Visa network? Is it on a Cirrus or BankMate? Sometimes you have to flip the card over to see what ATM networks. Usually our partners have a handbook where they help you know which banking systems are more accessible than others. It is a good practice to call your bank ahead of time, let them know that you're traveling. And this includes credit cards, very important for credit cards, because if you go to make that first purchase and you're in Turks and Caicos and yesterday you were in North Carolina, your bank may think that that's a fraudulent charge and they freeze your account. And that's very uncomfortable because you may have a frozen account until they can ship you a new card, which can be very frustrating, very time consuming. So those are my big pieces of advice. I don't know if others, I'd be happy to hear from anybody else who wants to chime in on good banking advice.
I think that sounds great. I know one thing we went over in the London summer orientation, which I see a few familiar names on here, is recognizing that some banks like Bank of America may have another name or an affiliate that is accessible. So it's always a good idea to check and see if there's like Barclays or something that is just a similar institution but called by a different name in that location. So that's a really good resource depending on where you're going.
Yes, thank you for saying that. Yeah, the trick of banking abroad is to not pay a lot of those fees, both the conversion fees and the ATM fees. And so sometimes this is governed by the actual machine that you happen to be standing in front of. But one way to reduce fees is to work through a partner of your bank. And so, I know, Barclays is a good example. If you call your bank and say, who are your international partners? I found that a lot of bank websites now are it's very easy to find this information, especially when you're registering that you're going to be abroad. sometimes they put that information right in front of you at that point in time. So maybe just take a photo of those lists of those banks. And again, you may not find them all on day one when you're in a new country and you're kind of bleary eyed and tired, but probably within a few days, you will find that ATM that is going to help you save a little money on fees. And I think Americans are sort of used to swiping a card kind of at every turn. It might be more wise to kind of take out a little bit larger sums so that you're not being kind of tagged with a fee, you know, taking $10 out at a time and that sort of thing. Depending on the part of the world, you know, debit and credit cards may not be as widely used. Europe is pretty similar to the US, but there are other parts of the world where cash is a little bit more easy to use, depending on what you're buying, of course. But yeah, these are great questions. And again, you know, if you haven't seen good advice yet from DIS about Copenhagen, I'd get on the phone and call those folks. They are based in Minnesota. They're really friendly, nice people. Moms and dads out there, you want to call DIS in their home office and ask questions, you are absolutely entitled at this, especially at this stage as a departure is coming in close, to go ahead and contact them and ask for that type of advice if you feel like you haven't heard yet about that kind of thing.
Great, thank you, Rhonda. We actually don't have any other questions in the chat or unanswered in the Q&A at the moment, but we're happy to answer anything else if anyone drops anything in.
All right, well, I think I'm going to stop recording and just